Welcome back. Border Management Authority Commissioner Dr. Michael Masiapato is conducting festive oversight visits at ports of entry as traffic volumes spike. Inspections will take place in vulnerable areas and drone technology will also be assessed. The BMA Commissioner joins us now for more. Dr. Masiapato, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Maybe let's just start off by unpacking some of those measures that are being implemented to ensure safety for travelers and for goods during this period, and also touch on why the Lebombo port has been chosen for the exit phase inspection and what are the main focus areas during your visit there.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Katleho. We really appreciate the opportunity as the Border Management Authority. Yes, indeed, we have done a lot of planning for this particular festive season. We actually started around the 15th of September, and we have started the implementation of the exit phase from the 10th of December until we are going to be running the exit phase until the 31st of December. So we can indicate that, yes, we've put a lot of measures on the space to make sure that we are able to properly facilitate the movement of persons and goods during this particular period. So in this instance, we can indicate that we have brought in all of the various staff members. No one is on rest days to make sure that we are able to effectively facilitate all of the people. And of course, we are expecting the pre-COVID numbers to actually be surpassed, which is around 6 million individuals that we are expected to facilitate during this period. Now, your second question is why Lebombo? Let's indicate that Lebombo, by the way, is now becoming the #1 port of entry in as far as the facilitation of people is concerned on land after OR Tambo, by the way. Just in the past 2 days, we've been able to facilitate over 50,000 individuals who are exiting South Africa into the Mozambican side. And it is therefore one of the most critical posts that we have to put more efforts on in terms of making sure that we are able to facilitate people, but at the same time, deal with all of the challenges in terms of illegal migration and the like.
And of course, the truck volumes at that port of entry is also a cause for concern. How are you managing those queues and what steps are you taking in order to prevent delays or even congestions?
Yes, indeed, Katlaho. And by the way, that is the issue or the other issue that brings even more complexity. You will remember that Lebombo, as we speak, it is now one of the top ports in as far as the movement of cargo. We do an average of around 1,500 trucks per day in terms of making sure that they are facilitated. The majority of those being I would say, mineral trucks that are actually destined for Maputo Harbor, which is supposed to go to the rest of the continent. A lot of work is being done to make sure that we facilitate the movement of the trucks. One of the key steps that we have done is to co-locate on the bypass as South Africa Immigration as well as Customs, together with the team of Mozambique, where we are able to process the truck drivers without having to exit the trucks in one spot, so that they're able to move out and move into kilometer 4, where they get scanned, and from there they go straight into Maputo Harbor. That is the main issue that we have done. And by the way, because of the increased volumes in terms of the small vehicles in the past 2 days, we have had some bit of an extended line or queue, and that is on the basis that most of the companies are in the process of closing. So they have sent a lot of trucks into the port, but at the same time, we have to balance them out together with the one for the small vehicles, buses, as well as taxis. And that is why the line has been a bit of a problem. But we can confirm that until this afternoon, we've been able to clear all the small vehicles. And now, as we speak, we are putting more effort on the trucks to make sure that we clear them overnight.
And Commissioner, I can believe that this should be a two-pronged facilitation. What role does cross-border partners play in ensuring that there's smooth operations, especially at Lebombo during this festive season?
Yeah, indeed. Border management is a very sophisticated ecosystem. So other stakeholders in this instance, we talk about the national traffic teams as well as the provincial. In this instance, we talk about the Mpumalanga traffic teams coming from the province, but also those that are local, and they're effectively assisting in terms of corridor management. That becomes very much critical, Katleho, because once you lose the management of the corridor, then you create chaos. Once there is chaos, you are not able to properly facilitate the movement of people and goods. And therefore, it becomes very critical. And of course, as they do the work on the corridor, we are also assisted by members of the South African Police Service, particularly in making sure that there is law and order in this ecosystem. And during the night, there is no vulnerability of the truck drivers or even the trucks themselves. And that is why they will be on the ground in terms of assisting, in terms of making sure that the environment is secure on the corridor. At the same time, we do have members of the Defense Force that are assisting us on the vulnerable segments on the borderline. We do know that even during the exit leg, there are some individuals who would have overstayed in the country, who will attempt to exit the country illegally so that they don't come to the port because they know they will be V-listed. So those are the kind of things that we are doing with the rest of the ecosystem. But more importantly, we make sure that we also interact with our immediate neighborhood, in this instance being the Mozambicans. The last meeting that we just had with them was this afternoon at around 1500 hours, where we were further looking at the activities and making sure that we synchronize our processes in order to make sure that as we push more traffic, as we push more people, they are also able to receive them accordingly. And that is basically the kind of work we do on the ground.
And how do you assess the recent introduction of the technology that you've brought in at our borders, that being the drones, and are the body cams already now in use when it comes to the officials?
Yes, indeed, Katlego. If you were to look at the issue of the drones, by the way, we're actually busy working with them even since this morning, and because they are very much strong also in terms of night vision, they are actually going to be operating also throughout the night. What do we use the drones for? The key part is in this particular phase, which is the exit leg. We mainly also use them for the purposes of assisting us in corridor management. So we put them up. We are able to monitor the movement of both small vehicles, taxis, as well as buses, but also in terms of the movement of trucks, and make sure that there is no chaos on the corridor. So that is basically another angle that we use in as far as the exit phase is concerned. Once again, we also use them on the borderline for looking at the vulnerable segments. The most critical part is going to be the return leg, where we are going to be using them more critically on the vulnerable segments on the borderline to be able to deal with issues of illegal migration, with our response teams very much ready to intercept individuals who will be attempting to enter the country illegally. In terms of the body cams, yes, the body cams are functional. We do have some here in Lebombo, some are in Bedbridge, some are in OR Tambo and other ports. So we use those to be able to pick up the activities of our officials as they interact with the travelers. What do we use them for? Part of the activity that we use them for is to be able to make sure that our officials are not compromised as they interact with the travelers, whether in terms of some bit of solicitation for bribe activities or anything like that. And that is why you will remember just in the past week, we did indicate we were able to intercept 2 Mozambicans that were carrying a number of passports that were fraudulently stamped, and they tried to bribe our officials, and they were actually arrested on the spot. So that is basically the role of all of this technology, and it is very much helpful.
And if you mentioned, Commissioner, the return phase, why then is Bedbridge, that port of entry, why is it a priority during this return phase, and what are the main concerns, particularly during this period at that port?
Yes, indeed. The return leg, we are going to start it from the 1st of January and we will run it until the 15th of January. So Bedbridge becomes one of the most critical ports in terms of the return leg, primarily because you will be aware that Bedbridge is not just about the movement of the Zimbabweans there, but it is the movement of the rest of the continent. So we handle people that come from the DRC, they come from Malawi, Tanzania, and all of the other countries up the continent. And on that basis, we have a lot of problems in terms of illegal migration. So it is for that reason that the return leg, we're going to put more effort at Bedbridge to make sure that we deal with issues of illegal migration. To that extent, we are going to be deploying the drones that are that side to make sure that they assist us in terms of managing and observing the activities on the vulnerable segments along the borderline, working together with other stakeholders to make sure that we intercept such individuals, get them deported. But more importantly, the drones are going to be assisting us in terms of the identification of what we call facilitators. These are individuals that will be facilitating people moving into the country illegally through the vulnerable segments. When we arrest the facilitators, as we always do, we don't deport them. we take them through to the police station so that they face the might of the law. So indeed, Bedbridge is one of the key. In terms of the numbers of the people facilitated, we're talking about them being the second port after Lebombo in terms of the number. So fairly, we talk about OR Tambo being the first, followed by Lebombo, and then followed by Bedbridge in terms of numbers.
And I can imagine, Commissioner, that with all of these intensified efforts, particularly at Lebombo and Bedbridge, other ports are also just as significantly being intensified so that entry through countries such as Lesotho or Swaziland are monitored just as much.
Yes, indeed. I mean, remember we have 71 ports, in the entire ecosystem that we have to be dealing with. But at the same time, even in that kind of an environment, we do have what we call the 10 top ports that facilitate 75% of the entire travelers during even this particular period, but also even under normal circumstances. So it is on those 10 ports where we actually put more deployments and make sure that we are very much ready to deal with any kind of eventuality. Yes, indeed. In terms of the ports with Lesotho, we have more effort in Maseru as well as in Ficksburg. And I just came from there just in the past few days. And of course, on that basis, we then have Oshuk going to Eswatini. Again, we have more effort in that particular space. But we also have the team that is at Crowler's Bridge together with Kopfontein going to Botswana. That side, we also have teams that are very much aware to be able to deal with the issues. And of course, the top two, which is Lebombo as well as Bedbridge. So we have spread all our teams across the ecosystem, and we can confirm that in certain instances, we are very much overstretched. I was just talking at Kosi Bay just now. They did indicate that there is serious volumes that side, and they're doing their best. But of course, as you will know, because we operate at 25% capacity as the BMA, we have requested to be assisted by other stakeholders, such as the tourism monitors that came from the Department of Tourism and other stakeholders in the airport space.
So, Commissioner, how do these intensified operations fit into the broader vision for border security in the region?
Yeah, you see the broader vision, obviously, Katleho, which is very much critical, is the ability to, get some bit of financial resources so that we can be able to do some bit of more technology into the ecosystem, which is basically very much fundamental. So here we talk about the ability, for instance, in our airports to start, installing the e-gates, which is something that most jurisdictions are actually using in as far as the facilitation, particularly of their nationals in those particular environments. All of those are part of the planning. But of course, in addressing broader issues of corruption is the ability to get more of the body cams to make sure that almost all the officials are on body cams. Once we are able to achieve that, we will definitely not even talk about corruption in the port environment. But in terms of infrastructure, you will be aware that we have some work with the private-public partnership that is actually ongoing. In the new year, we are expecting that the successful bidders will come through and they will assist us to reopen and redesign and redevelop our top 6 land commercial ports so that we are able to facilitate or to do this work better. Mainly it's going to be Bedbridge, it's going to be Lebombo, Oshuk, Kopfontein, Maseru Bridge, as well as Ficksburg. And that is going to assist us in terms of making sure that we are able to move goods as fast as possible, because the intention ultimately is to achieve a non-stop border post in terms of the movement of goods in particular, especially in our land ports.
Lastly, Commissioner, your message to travelers and just those cross-border operators during this busy festive season?
Yeah, no, thanks, Katla. I think what we can say is that we are very much ready to facilitate all of the travelers. We encourage everybody to come through to the port, and we don't want people to go to the vulnerable segments. The facilitators are making money, but it is a dangerous enterprise. Sometimes people try to cross Limpopo River, very dangerous. Caledon River with Lesotho, very dangerous. We also urge people to make sure that they have their documentation very much ready to make sure that they get processed without any hindrance. People must go to the BMA website, which is www.bma.gov.za, to go get all the requirements, especially for movement with children. If you are a parent, the other parent is not there, there are certain requirements that you must observe and all of that. So when people come back, we want to urge people not to bring agricultural products such as your fruits and all of those, because they will not be accepted into the country. Otherwise, people must have a very great Christmas as well as a prosperous 2026.
All right, Commissioner, we wish you all the best of luck during this very busy season, but thank you so much for joining us this evening and giving us that overview with regards to your festive season oversight at those ports of entry.